I was requested a few times to do a deeper dive into my favorite build I've ever created, and that, hands down, is my Red Mage build. I created the build around my favorite class in Final Fantasy. The Red Mage is a sword-wielding, sometimes shield-wielding, magic user with both abilities of white and black magic, while focusing on enfeebling and enhancing magic and having dope swordplay at the same time. In Baldurs Gate 3, the Red Mage gets its enhancing and enfeebling magics from Bard, while getting its white magics from Paladin and getting its black magics from Sorcerer. Combined together, it's just an absolute reckoning. Using your Sorcerer abilities to twin your Bard spells to freeze people so that your level 5 Divine Smite actually crits, it's incredibly fun. Running it in honor mode right now and having a completely easy breezy time. I'll have chapters below in the description so you can skip to whether you just want to see the combat tactics, the leveling, or the gear. So let's start. At level 1, I like to start with Bard, mostly for the skill proficiencies. I'm really big on having Persuasion and Deception right in the beginning of the game, so I can make sure things go the way I want them to. And to make sure that that happens, I also grab Friends as the cantrip. I also grab Vicious Mockery. I love Vicious Mockery. I end up using it throughout the whole game. As far as first level spells, Healing Word and Command are an absolute must for me. Command is one of the strongest spells in the game, just absolutely skipping people's turns. It never gets old. Fairy Fire is also really helpful. As far as the stats go, keep Charisma at 17 how it is. I also keep the Dexterity at 15. I do remove points from Intelligence. I usually dump my Intelligence so I have more Wisdom, so I have more Perception. Wisdom saves are also super helpful. Making sure that I get the Warped Headband of Intellect so I can wear that when I know I'm not fighting, just for those handy investigation checks. You can find that off the ogre named Lump. He is in the Blighted Town or on the southwest side. Now we're going to take the next 2 levels as Paladin. Personally, I like the Oath of the Ancients. Having a AoE heal, especially in the beginning of the game, is super sick. It's also tied to your Charisma, and how we are maining Charisma makes the heal even better. This also opens up medium and heavy armor right in the beginning, which is super helpful. The second level unlocks Divine Smites for us. Now this is super cool, the bread and butter of the Red Mage build, honestly. You're going to be able to pick a fighting style here. The long game, the best one to pick is defense. Whether you're going to sword and board or you're going to dual wield. Eventually we're going to dual wield. The 2 weapons I think are the best for this build, but until we get to Act 3, we're going to just be sword and shielding it, so you can make a decision here whether you want to play the long game and grab the defense style, or you want to grab dueling and then reclass later. The only Paladin spells I use are Smites, and mostly it's just the Divine Smite. Divine Smite doesn't take a bonus action to use it, and you can have it pre-tagged as a reaction on any one of your swings. But Paladin does come with command, so you can swap a new Bard spell in if you like. From there, I switch back to Bard. I level Bard up until I get to my subclass, which I will be picking College of Swords. The flourishes get used a whole lot. They're absolutely fantastic. We also unlock level 2 spells, which is pretty sweet. I love Heat Metal. Heat Metal is also fun later when we unlock Meta Magic, because twinning Heat Metal or twinning Enlarge are one of my favorite casts to do. Other than that, I also like Mirror Image. Mirror Image is a really solid choice for anybody, honestly. It's not concentration, so it's easy just to pop out. With our 4th level into Bard, we then can pick our first feat. Now this is going to really matter if you're going to reclass later for the dual wielding. I honestly think if you're building it from the ground up, you should take the ability score increase your charisma, increase your dex, and then once you unlock that second sword that we need, the Harmonic Dueler, and then you should reclass and grab the dual wielding feat. Also, the Hold Person spell is incredibly helpful. Make sure you grab that at this level or the one before. It can be twinned and upcasted to affect different targets. Every melee attack on it is an automatic critical, so we want to set that up and then hit him with a smite. 5th level opens up a ton of things for Bard. We get our Inspiration and Flourishes back on a short rest, which is absolutely sick. We get 3rd level spells. There's 3 of them that are super dope. Glyph of Warding is super cool, a great AoE power spell, and you can drop people to sleep, which also sets up critical melee hits. There's Plant Growth, which is not concentration and completely slows down the targets. And Fear, it affects a cone of enemies, making them drop their weapons, and then all their attacks are disadvantage on you and yours are advantage on them. And lucky us, next level in Bard gives us second attack. Now we have 4 levels left. This is where we go into Sorcerer. The Sorcerer levels are pretty easy. Starting off right in the beginning, we want to make sure we get the Dragon Ancestry. I love to take Cold to get Armor of Agathis. This is a dope buff spell, lasts the whole day, and it does damage while protecting you. The only first level spell I actually care about is Shield, and wow is Shield helpful. Going into Meta Magics at the 2nd level, I make sure I get Twin Spell. I use Twin Spell a whole lot. The other meta magic I grab is distance spell. That way my touch spells can actually have some range to it and I don't have to actually be there. The next one though, I make sure I grab quicken spell at level 3 that unlocks the ability to spend 3 sorcerer points to cast a spell on your bonus action that usually takes an action, which is a dope way to send out hold person right before you go in with your strongest slot to divine smite on that crit. I'll take the last level with Sorcerer just to get another sorcery point, and as far as second level spells on the Sorcerer side, there's not too many I like. Misty Step is a good choice for sure. Blur and Mirror Image, if you didn't already grab them with Bard, is also a good idea. As far as equipment goes, most of his equipment is before Act 2, which is pretty sick. In the Underdark, you can get Falara Louve. I use this sword to the end of the game, basically. I always dual wield it with Harmonic Dueler. They stack awesomely together. The Screeching ability adds a d4 of thunder damage, which surprisingly stacks with a bunch of other things. Mostly, it's helpful with the Magic Missile build, which is a spell that you can get with your Sorcerer side. Not to mention that it is finesse, so you get to use your dexterity with it. The Strange Conduit Ring is a ring that you can find in the Crush. Inside the Crush, you'll also find the Ring of Arcane Synergy. I use these every time I build this guy. The Conduit Ring adds a d4 psychic to your melee attacks when you're concentrating on a spell. The Arcane Synergy Ring lets you add your Charisma modifier onto your weapon attacks every time you cast a cantrip, which is something we can do while twinning with our Sorcerer abilities. So we can start the battle debuffing 2 people, hurting them, and buffing ourselves at the same time. I use basic medium armor until that I can get the Adamantium Scale Mail, which you can get in the Forge and the Underdark. This then gets replaced by the Flame Enameled Armor, which you can get at Worm's Rock. Now this is a little tricky, but if you send a rogue in and make them invisible, it's pretty simple. You can just grab it and dip. And it's literally like 2 minutes further into the story than the Harmonic Dueler is, which is a rapier that you can purchase from the Dancing Axe. The Harmonic Dueler is a rapier that you can purchase that lets you use a skill called Mellow Harmony. This makes you do a performance check with a DC of 15. Now if you put expertise in your performance, this should be no sweat at all, but you can also cast guidance on yourself if you really are worried about it. Once you pass this, it then adds your charisma modifier onto your weapon attacks, and it absolutely stacks with Arcane Synergy from your ring. So you're doubling your charisma modifier on all your weapon attacks. Now there's a strange thing that happens when you use it with Falara Louve. When you have the Screech going and you're adding the d4 of thunder damage, your charisma modifier is also added on top of that, effectively adding it twice to your one hit. And if you're dual wielding, you're hitting them 3 times. 4 if you haste it, 5 if you have a Bloodlust potion, even more if you're using Slashing Flourish. Using this guy is an absolute blast. I like to start off with the cantrip, usually twinning it to hit a few people. Vicious Mockery is a good start so they don't hit me so hard. Because all our levels are casters or full casters, we have a ton of spell slots available so we can just smite all day long, constantly. That, and they're higher level than Paladins usually get, so I can use 4th, 5th level slots just to do insane damage. We can use things like Fear to give ourselves advantage to make sure that we hit critical, or we can just make sure our level 5 Divine Smite is critical by using Hold Person, which we can quicken, or twin, or upcast, and just go nuts. Towards endgame, you can get things like the Birthright Hat to increase your Charisma modifier, which is a good solid choice. Also at the Dancing Axe, he sells a Cloak of Displacement, which makes all physical attacks on you disadvantage, which is absolutely sick when you're trying to hold concentration on a whole person. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. This was my favorite build. I'm going to be redoing a lot of my old builds that I did in the beginning. I didn't have a good idea of how I should do this, and after the feedback, I really would like to go and get those builds redone with more information for you guys to try out. So hey, subscribe so you don't miss it. Also, we just fully rolled out our new Discord. The Roll for Booty Discord link is in this description. You should come hang out sometime. I'll see you guys around.